fun, weird, mutant people, many of whom are Team Human members, or at least many Team Human members are fun, weird, mutant people. We found in the net a place to express and potentially build this culture and all.
Are you ready? It's time to find the others and create the weird. Let's make things actually worth living for. Let's flip the figure on the ground. Let's play and dance for humanity. Work as play, play as work. Words as poetry, poetry as life. Life as beauty, beauty as eternity.
The call of the others. Let's get weird.
The power of the others. Let's get weird.
Instead of the revolution, it's a renaissance. And retrieving from our past, either our past DNA in our own heritage, or the further along of all humanity, getting to some kind of essence, which I like to play with, listening to the heartbeat of the universe, retrieving back this stuff that we need to be fully human, and maybe constantly asking ourselves that question of what does it mean to be fully human? What does it mean to be part of this lineage of all of life?
I've gone through a bunch of different religions, I guess, but this book has forced me to kind of come out of the closet as someone who believes in the soul. I was thinking a lot about Aristotle, and Aristotle, as compared to Plato kind of divided. There's like the perfect ideals up there, and then there's physical reality. And we love Plato, because then we can say, okay, you just go to church for that upper stuff, and everything's mechanical. We can, just figure out the causes and effects and science and break everything down, and that's beautiful for Plato. But Aristotle was into causes. He had the four causes. Everything else is four causes. The efficient cause is like the building of a table, or the material cause is the wood that the table comes from, and the final cause is, so that you have something to put things on. But there was this cause that nobody really fully understood called formal cause. And formal cause is like the sort of almost the essential cause, the tableness of a table, or the humanness of a human. And the formal cause of a human is soul. Is the soul. It's the only way to understand what is it that makes a human human. It's this almost pre-existing drive, and you come in with soul. And then you can explain it. You can use quantum field. Okay, so there's quantum field, and then human beings are really good at kind of creating a particular realization of infinite quantum spectrum or something. You can play around with it, and there's great scientists who will kind of back up these ideas. But in the end, it's I used to say, wow, there's something soft and squishy and ineffably wonderful about humans. Isn't there some intrinsic weird value that that human beings can maintain ambiguity over time, that they don't have to resolve things. We can stay in that liminal space between yes and no that computers can't. And we can stay in there and we can watch a David Lynch film and not understand what it means and still experience that as pleasurable. What is that unresolved place? And then, I've had to realize, in the end, when push comes to shove, I can't, those are beating around the bush, that I do have to come back and finally say, yes, there is, I don't know if there's God as such, but there's a soul. There's something animating this whole thing. And soul came before matter. Soul, it really did. Time came before stuff. It's not that we had a bang that created time. No, I think time generated the bang, the soul, that there was consciousness before Consciousness is not an emergent phenomenon of complicated matter. You know, matter can get complex enough that it can tap into consciousness, that we can broadcast it. You know, I'm more into the sort of the Terence McKenna idea of DNA being like radio antennas, and then we can kind of channel consciousness. But there's a soul, sorry. And soul is always the thing that gets repressed in capitalism. Not just the soul, but soul itself. And you try to jam soul into, oh, let's create a record label that has lots of that soul in it so we can make money off it. It's always, it's the only vital force really that we've got as humans is soul.
Please start off our meeting with a reading from...
From our tome of knowledge.
Yeah.
Through language and instruction, humans create a knowledge base that compresses or binds many centuries of accumulated wisdom into the learning span of a single generation.
Anyways, I was interested. I know Curryhobo is just kind of observing, but anything you want to talk about, Curry?
I did have this one story that was on my mind that I could share with you guys.
Oh yeah, sweet.
I was at this cafe, and the person who was working the counter said to a group, I hope you guys have a nice day, or something like that. And then the person who she was saying it to said, we choose not to use gendered language, because she heard the word guy and took a bit of offense to it. She didn't like the term you guys. So I was on my computer and I just overheard that. So I immediately looked up where the word guy comes from, the etymology. And I found out that the word guy used to mean chain. So somebody would say throw the guy, which would mean throw the chain. And then it came to mean the first link of the chain. So the first link of the chain was the guy. You can send the guy down and the rest of the chain will follow. And then it got personified. So the word guy was a leader, a guide. The word guide comes from the same lineage. Also, the word Guido comes from the same lineage. Anyway, so it meant leader for a while. And then it became completely subverted, so people would say it sarcastically. And they would say, look at that guy, to like a hobo, or someone who didn't look like a leader. And then eventually it kind of just became normalized to mean a person, a human. And maybe more towards male, but all of the Latin languages bend more towards male for some reason. Anyway, so I thought, is there something about that, about fishing your way up the etymology of a concept that I think is really valuable? And I was looking up the etymology of team and of human, and those are both really interesting as well.
The etymology of the word human is humus, which means earth. Human beings are of this earth. You can consider that to be human beings are dirt, but we are earthbound. I want it to be very clearly understood that humanity is not inherently in conflict with nature at all. It has become widely understood that if we were to go paleo, as some people would put it, or aboriginal, that you're dealing with humans who are living in harmony in some sense with nature. But it goes well beyond that. In fact, as we march through the scribal period, from the axial age, roughly 500 BC, through all of the early writing, which radically transformed society, pretty much until we get to the modern age and the invention of the printing press, the relationship between humanity and nature was a harmonious one.
All kind of somehow magically synchronise or something works. Like today I was just messing around after I'd done all like the DIY stuff in my house. I thought, oh, what can I do? And I thought I'll just create a bit of music, and I went onto this funny little app and I was just on this little mixing desk thing. And I was making these I was thinking about Generation X, and I was thinking about the raves and things we used to go to that kind of started in the late 80s and sort of through the 90s, the early 90s. And I was trying to sort of recreate this kind of old school sounding music. And then I posted the link in the thread, the Team Human thread. And Dan, you were like, oh my God, it kind of goes, it goes with the GIF, the walking GIF. This is not a loop. But that was just an example of what I'm saying, is that quite often when you just kind of do weird stuff, somehow it kind of connects and it comes together. These things, weirdly, coincidentally, if you like, they come together and they're like, oh my God, they go really well together. I find that usually works when people just do stuff that they wouldn't normally do, or it's not too forced in any way, if that makes sense. It's just kind of a natural thing, and then it all kind of comes together really nicely.
This carrier of truth, like many others before, was banished into the underground.
Revenge of the Lizard Brain. Chaos configurations of the trickster god. Ends never justify the means. Subvert perception with a single clever twist. Unify the whole weird intuitive sense. We carry the book of life. Crack open a page and breathe. Take all of life into your being. Take all of life into your being.
In the infinite sadness turns to gladness, flip-flop on to madness. Thought I had this, sadness hits me hard in the chest, taking my breath, easing my death. Gladness floats me higher than my best day of this. Hey, how about I kiss the madness twisted inside my head? I laid this bed. What's that you said?
This is not a loop. But that was just an example of what I'm saying, is that quite often when you just kind of do weird stuff, somehow it kind of connects and it comes together. These things, weirdly, coincidentally, if you like, they come together and they're like, oh my God, they go really well together. I find that usually works when people just do stuff that they wouldn't normally do, or it's not too forced in any way, if that makes sense. It's just kind of a natural thing, and then it all kind of comes together really nicely.
Admit it. You're not like them. You're not even close. You may occasionally act like them, scroll through the same mindless feeds as they do, send out an angry tweet, or maybe even wait in line at the same food truck as them. But it seems that the more you try to fit in, the more you feel like an outsider watching the normies as they go about the automatic existence. Every time you say club passwords like, you guys have a nice day now, or it's fucking hot today, right? You yearn inside for a secret insane thought like, why does it seem like I access alternative lives in my dreams? Or what do you think deja vu is for? Face it, you even want to talk to that person in the market wearing a mask. But what if that person in the market are thinking the same things? Who knows what you might learn from taking a chance on a conversation with a stranger? Everyone carries a piece of the mosaic. Nobody dances to the songs of eternity by mere coincidence. Trust your instincts, do the unexpected, find the others, and create the weird at a safe social distance.
We all carry a hidden truth within, and sometimes we ask ourselves the question, why am I here, and what is the purpose of my life? What is this treadmill of existence?